You think humans discovered fire. I think fire discovered us. Come. Sit down. Let the fire settle between us. I want to tell you about a man who lived a very, very long time ago. He was hungry. He was cold. And there was something about his own face that he would never understand because there were no mirrors yet. No word for mirror. No word for most things. But you have a mirror. And tonight I want you to go and look in it. Look at your jaw. That shape, the one you've never once questioned, took 2 million years to build. And it was built by something that isn't even alive. I'm not going to tell you what it is yet. You'll know it when you feel it. For now, just know this. Somewhere, right now, a version of that same man is still living inside your skull. You just don't know his name. He woke up hungry every single day of his life. And every single day, the first thing he did before anything else was start chewing. Not for a few minutes. For hours. His jaw ached before midday. It never really stopped aching. Think about everything you'd lose if eating took up half your day. No time to explore, no time to talk, no time to just sit and watch the sky change color, or the birds cross it. Now, I know how this sounds. Everything I'm telling you sounds like a myth, but every part of it comes from real evidence. That evidence is waiting for us. We'll get there. For now, just stay with him. His whole life was built around one job: getting enough out of food that refused to give it up easily. And then, one evening, the sky did something he had never seen before. Far off, past the hills he knew, the world was glowing a color that had no name yet. Maybe he ran. Maybe he hid, the way every smart animal hides from something that big and that bright. Or maybe, and this is the part I'd like to imagine, he was too curious to look away. I don't know which one he was. Nobody does. We only know what he found once the glow finally settled down. He found food. Food that didn't fight back. He didn't have a word for what had cooked it. We do. Fire. He ate. And something about it. The taste. The ease of it. The way his jaw didn't have to fight for once. Made him want to feel that again. The next day, he went looking for that warmth again. Not because he understood it. Because his body remembered it. That's it. That's the whole beginning. Or something like it. Imagine one of them. Maybe it wasn't even him. Maybe it was his sister or a stranger 3 valleys over, or 1,000 different people making the same lucky discovery, generation after generation, until it finally stuck. He's just the one I'm asking you to picture. But whoever it really was, everything else in this story, your face, your brain, the body you're sitting in right now, grew out of moments exactly like that one. For a long, long time, this was only a story. Something told beside fires like this one, passed down without any proof at all. Then one day, people began digging into the ground. They weren't looking for him. But eventually they found traces he'd left behind. Tiny ones. So tiny they were hidden inside old teeth. It was hiding inside somebody's teeth. That tiny tooth changed the story. Remember the mirror I asked you to look into? Let's go back to it. Your jaw. That man by the fire, and everyone like him, had a skull built like a machine for chewing. A heavy jaw, and a hard ridge of bone running along the top of the head, just to hold the chewing muscles in place. You don't have that ridge. Nobody alive today does. Somewhere between his skull and yours, that ridge disappeared completely. Not because fire touched bone, because thousands of years of eating differently changed what bodies needed. Generation after generation, slowly. And something else grew in the space it left behind. We'll get to that. But first, I want to tell you exactly what that tooth said. Years later, people looking closely enough finally found the proof. Old teeth from South Africa, belonging to people who lived almost 1 million years ago. They found tiny traces of plant food stuck in the enamel, food that had clearly been heated, cooked. One cooked meal is luck. But by around 800,000 years ago, cooked food had become a regular part of life. That's not luck anymore. I want to show you exactly what fire was doing to his food, in a way that doesn't need a science degree to follow. He dropped it by accident. He almost threw it out. Instead, it was the easiest meal he'd ever eaten. Imagine raw food is a suitcase. Tied shut, tight knots, everything you need is inside, but your body has to fight to get it. That's what raw meat and raw roots were like for him. Locked energy, hard to reach. Heat untied the knot. Fire didn't just warm the food, it untied it. Same food, different species almost. He never noticed any of this. He just noticed that dinner stopped hurting. But the bigger surprise wasn't the food. Digesting food, breaking it down inside your body, takes a huge amount of energy. Your gut runs like a machine, day and night, just to process what you eat. That costs something, every day. No days off. When fire started doing part of that job, it wasn't just his body that changed. His children didn't need to chew as long as he did. That's how you'd have seen it happen. Not in him, but in them. Guts that didn't have to work as hard. Guts that could afford to be smaller, different meals, same secret. And all that energy that used to go into the struggle had to go somewhere else. Little by little, bodies that no longer spent so much energy fighting their own food could afford something they never could before. Bigger, hungrier brains. Even now, the hungriest part of your body isn't your stomach. It's the thing listening to me right now. Your brain eats an enormous share of everything you eat. Just to keep running, you are the most expensive brain in the entire animal kingdom, and the only reason you can afford the bill is that something else is quietly covering part of it. So here's the trade he made. Without ever choosing it. Without ever knowing it. His jaw needed less power. So, little by little, not in a year, not in a century, but across hundreds of thousands of years, the ridge on top of his skull began to disappear. As those huge chewing muscles became less and less important, the shape of his skull gradually changed too. Whether that change directly helped make room for larger brains is still debated. But the timing, that's remarkable. There's a scientist, Richard Wrangham, at Harvard, who spent decades studying this exact trade. He argues we became something new. Obligate cookers. It means we stopped being animals that could cook. We became animals that needed to. Every other creature on Earth can eat what it finds. We became deeply dependent on cooking for the kind of energetic life our species now lives. I like to think of it like a ceiling lifting. Not because his brain was suddenly told to grow, just because, for the first time in 2 million years, there was finally a little more room. And because of that, there's something we can never undo. Think about what that actually meant for him. Every other animal on Earth just uses whatever the world gives it. He couldn't just use fire, he had to keep it. Through rain, across distance, even in his sleep. No other animal does that. Not protects it, not feeds it, not carries it from one life to the next. Just him. We didn't just start using fire, we handed it a piece of our own body. We've outsourced part of our own biology. Fire didn't become part of human life. Human life became part of fire. He wasn't only surviving, he was starting to enjoy it. Fire didn't just change what went into his body, it changed what happened after dark, too. Whatever was out there in the black, it didn't like the light. And inside that little circle of firelight, for maybe the first time ever, he could actually sleep. Deeply. Many researchers think nights spent beside a fire like this may have allowed deeper, safer sleep for the first time. And deep sleep is when the brain sorts through the day. fixes itself, gets ready for the next one. That fire wasn't just his kitchen. It was his guard dog, too. Everyone says civilization began with farming. I'm not so sure. I think it began the first night somebody cooked dinner. Sometimes I wonder if agriculture gets more credit than cooking does. If I'm wrong, tell me why. Argue with me about that later. For now, let's finish his story. We like to think cooking is culture, a recipe, a technique, something we invented for fun. Underneath all of that, it's something your body has expected for almost 1,000,000 years. The brain you're using right now didn't evolve needing a stove specifically. It evolved expecting food that had already been transformed by heat. That's not a small difference. That's the whole story. Every part of your face that looks distinctly human. The light jaw, the tall forehead, the small teeth, was shaped by a flame that an old, hungry man didn't even understand. For 1,000,000 years, we thought we were the ones keeping the fire alive. We weren't. We didn't domesticate fire. Fire domesticated us. He died believing it was only a better way to cook dinner. He never knew he'd changed every face that would ever come after his. Yours,